All right, everybody, we are back in the home office preparing our final U.S. Open update that you'll see in the next couple of hours. You know, it's been a very long weekend, little sleep, lots of work, but always time to talk about a friend. But I want to begin with probably my best friend, my father. You know, in my father's hands, I think of them often, and whenever I look at my hands, I see my father's hands. But especially when I look at my two sons, Tyler and Robbie, it reminds me of my hands many years ago, long before all of the wear and tear that life kind of brings along with the journey. And many of those years spent in the gym punching those bags. Well, there's something else when it comes to hands, people that make their living with them, especially ASE certified mechanics who work in the automobile industry. Lefty Ron Denizio, 40 years service manager for Mr. Wright, as in Bobby and Kenny's dad. And my neighbor, small world, I found out long after I'd already known Bobby and Kenny that Lefty had worked for them. Lefty, a dear friend of my children's grandfather, Larry Matrazzo, who was the very first coach that I ever interviewed on the radio. And Lefty, my old neighbor in that, well, neighborhood that I lived for many years in Rochester. And I remember we talked a lot, but especially one night in particular, many years ago, in my driveway, just one street down from his. I could have walked through the backyards and knocked on his door and sat in his kitchen and had a cup of coffee and had the same conversation, but it was so riveting that I couldn't, tear myself away from that phone. He told me about his journey, growing up, and how his mother had died when he was very young, and he had a number of siblings, dad working on the railroad. He had to work, and he had to raise his kids. So Lefty ended up as a small child at the Milton Hershey School. And you've heard me talk about it many times on the radio. You understand my love of that brand and why it's so significant, right? And many times I still buy a Hershey bar in memory of, yeah, it's a good candy bar, but Milton Hershey, because of that conversation that I had with Lefty many years ago. And how Lefty said, yeah, tough, but eventually it taught me my career. I became an auto mechanic. I love the automobile industry. The Wright family, 3 generations, they're part of Beaver County. I mean, they're like family. Got that incredible dealership along Ohio River Boulevard. And I always think about them, Bobby and Kenny, who've been such good friends of mine, but somehow, some way, Lefty's name always comes up. Well, with my children earlier today in the old neighborhood, I found out that Lefty's wife, Fran, passed away recently. And I know how much he loved her and how much family meant to him. And he knew by going to work as a ASE certified mechanic for the Wright family, he would be able to provide. And he always had such shining things to say about his work, which was really hard work. So I just thought I'd talk about the man that made his hands his living. And boy, he was incredible at it. My friend Lefty Denizio, and the loss of his lovely bride. You know, somebody told me many years ago that a good deal is when it's good for both sides. And I can say this about that marriage, it was a good deal. My thoughts and prayers go out to you, Lefty, and I know it's been a while since we've talked, but I want you to know I'm good, and I will always be here for you. God bless, and to me, you're the best. Good night.